All right, folks, we are live. Welcome to Conversations with Top Don. This is a special edition after the Kenya Rugby Sevens got relegated as a core status team from the IRB World Rugby Sevens. We are here to discuss how we got here and next steps, what can be done. I have a great panel with me here today. My name is DJ Top Don, host of the show. I have Alex Owino here from Kenya Rugby 24/7. Karibu sana, Alex.
Asante.
And I have George Mokuasi here from Ministry of Rugby/CPR, also the chief chef, the best chef you'll ever find anywhere on this planet Earth, and also a diehard Arsenal fan. So he's kind of hurting on multiple fronts right now. So we'll take it easy on him. George, karibu bwana.
Please, thank you so much. Thank you. Please take it easy, man.
we will definitely try to take it easy on you. All right, folks, let's get right into it. As all of a couple of people who are like familiar with the Kenya Rugby circles and Kenya Rugby Sevens team in particular are quite aware that unfortunately this past Sunday, Kenya lost in the playoff fight or playoff relegation fight. They were in the final against Canada, whom they had beat earlier in the weekend, but they lost that fight, and they were relegated. Now, what does that mean in the short term? What does that mean in the long term? So I will turn it over to Alex right away. So for those who might not be familiar, me and you and everybody on the panel might be familiar with what relegation means, but what does that mean for the Kenya Rugby Sevens team?
Okay, thank you for that, Top Don. So in the short term, and it means quite a big deal. It just means that we're no longer a core team. The way the World Rugby structures this tournament is they have 12 teams. They've reduced it down to 12 teams that are considered core teams that are invited to every leg. So at every tournament leg, these 12 teams are always invited. If you're not a core team, you may be invited just for one or two tournaments, but you're not part of the full schedule. And along with that, being a core team and being invited, there are a lot of things that come with it. You know, there's funding, there's accommodation is paid, there's a lot of things that go into that. And there's a sense of pride in being a part of the 12 teams, because really what it means in the game of sevens is that you're the top 12 teams in the world, right? So it's the highest level that you can play for as a sevens team. And if you're not part of that core status, it's really it just breaks our heart. And especially for Kenya, who ever since, so every year their teams, the lowest ranked team is relegated, meaning they're no longer a core team, and the highest ranked non-core team gets promoted into the tournament. And I know we're going to speak to that. Ever since Kenya was promoted to become a core team, we've never been relegated. So this is quite a big deal. This is a major deal, and we're talking about 23 years going. So that's what it is at a high level. I think we're going to go into some more detail, but I just wanted to say, it's a shock to all of us. We're still optimistic, but I think it's a long road ahead. So. Yeah,
all right, thanks for that. George, initial comments, you were quite vocal, both in support of the team on Saturday and then on Sunday after the relegation took place, you were quite vocal about what was going on. So initial thoughts, just give us what you're thinking with the relegation right now.
All right. So for just to put it on a layman's term, the Kenyan fans who just come there for Dunda and all that, Kenya rugby team is not coming anywhere. So that is what relegation means. That is how hard it is for us. And I've been vocal because I know what it means to the boys. I know what it means to the Kenyans. I know what it means to the fans around the world to just have the Kenya rugby in the mix. And now look at it now. It means that we will look at, there's a tweet that went out. If you guys read tweets from our boy, our chef, Mr. Dennis Ombachi, saying, if it wasn't for the Kenya Rugby and the ARB or with the HSBC, it wouldn't be where it is today, which is true. So it means that a lot of livelihoods are going to have to change, not only us fans, but even for the players that, were dependent on being in the circuit. And my big brother, Alex, he just spoke about the financial implications that come with us being relegated, funding. sponsor. There's no sponsor who will want to come and see us without, being in the circuit. So all these things are hurting because I've seen the players play their hearts out. They've done everything, but there are a few things that contributed to all this, and maybe we may talk about them as we go on.
All right, I'll switch this up to Alex, and just to take on a point that George has mentioned is the players play their heart out. There's things that happen in the back end that we might not be aware of. So there's a lot of questions that came in actually when we sent this out to talk about. I mean, like why we're here in the first place. So your take is why are we here in the first place?
From my opinion, the reason we're here is number one, mismanagement. The team has been mismanaged. The players, especially the tournaments, how we handle tournaments, how we approach tournaments. At a very high level, that's the case. Now, a lot of people, they put the blame on the coaches, which is a huge part of it. They place the blame on the union, which is another huge part of it. There's also blame that's sometimes being placed, I noticed from the fans, on the players themselves, the errors they were making on the field and everything. In my opinion, rugby is one of those sports where you have to have a passion for. And everyone from the players to the management, in my opinion, are passionate about the sport itself. Where I think we went wrong is from a leadership perspective from KRU, they failed to put in the structures, the proper professional structures to handle the game, given all the changes that just come naturally. Players get hurt, players retire, the fact that other teams catch up to our style of play, the fact that we were not blending in youthful players, the fact that, our players were going without allowances. I think this has been long coming. This just did not happen. And George might disagree with me. I don't think it just happened because of the last chairman or even the previous chairman. I think this has been happening even when we had the late and great Benjamin Ayemba. I mean, we've had issues with player allowances, players being taken care of or lack thereof. We've been unable to submit full scores in some of the the coaching staff sometimes has to leave one or two to go home. So I think KRU in of itself has not put in the structures to help mitigate this as going on a downward trend. And granted, we've had some opportunities where we've performed well, but to me, this has been at least a decade coming. So that's where I think we went wrong fundamentally. And then from a leadership perspective, from a short-term perspective, I think the leaders, at least for this season, failed to understand the severity of the fact that we were not making the quarters from the first few tournaments. I think this is the first time in a long time we've never made the quarters. And you could see it on the last, when we played on the playoffs, that the players were, they played with some urgency, they're more careful. But that kind of play, and I know we lost to Canada, but that kind of play, that kind of urgency needed to have happened in the third or second tournament. One thing, they should not have just waited until they got to this, because we've been beaten by so many teams who've lagged between the 12 and 13th, 14th position all season. Why wait till the end before you raise the alarm, before you start making drastic changes or changing things around? So I don't blame individuals, I just blame the system, but obviously the system is built by those individuals. So collectively, the leadership, I think, has failed just to build structures that build a team that's.
All right, we're going to keep it on the leadership angle here, and that's a good segue for George as well. So one of the questions that came in as well is that what needs to be done from the leadership level to ensure that the best players and coaches are selected. So I'm going to give this over to George. George, you were very vocal in your support of the at then running chairman and then became incoming chairman, Alexander Sasha Mutai. So I saw him yesterday on K24. I thought he had a very good plan and had a good interview in terms of things that he could get done. From your point of view, so one, you might tell us why you were vocal in your support of him to be the new KRU chairman or KRU director. And two, what would you like to see him implement to get Kenya back into the core as a core team moving forward?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me? All right.
Yeah.
We have when you talk of the leadership and all that, let me tune in also on where Alex left. When he said we'll disagree to agree. For fact, yes, we've been going on a downward spiral, and basically, my blame has always been, and my blame starts from the clubs, because the clubs are the ones that give us the directors. They come in and do the elections, and we elect the directors. The directors are the ones in turn who have the mandate to bring us whoever now who's going to coach the teams and all that. If we go back and look at what Mwangi Muthee had already done, and if it wasn't for the leadership of Mwangi Muthee and Sasha Mutai that time, now I'll go join it with what the question Mr. Our moderator just asked about why I supported the leadership that we have right now, and what went on. So when we talk of the leadership, when Mwangi Muthee was our director or was our chairman, remember, if it wasn't for Mwangi Muthee opening Rugby Mashinani, we wouldn't have people like Colin Sinjera. We would not have had people like, those guys who are playing in the Boondocks to come and shine where they're shining today. Because now with him, what he did, they opened up rugby in different counties and all those kind of stuff. Before that, rugby was basically almost like in the big cities, right? That was Nairobi, some in Nakuru. We only had one team in Nakuru and all those kind of stuff. So when we have a leader who has a vision, and the leader that we had before, let me say the two leaders that we had before, I have much respect to them as on a personal level, but on leadership, I don't. I feel like they failed us. They failed us a big time because they saw us going down. I will give you an example. Like when we went for the qualifiers, the Olympic qualifiers in Uganda, we had our coach who was a very good player, and that was Simiu. But the team, we got beat by some very crazy teams. I remember being in that place, in the stadium, or in the field, and looking at the chairman. The chairman disappeared. Gangla disappeared because we were about to kill him. He disappeared, and he disappeared, literally disappeared. And Uganda, yes.
Just to interject there, sorry. So where exactly did he go wrong there?
Gangla, he went wrong with because the directors that were put in, for one, let me go back. A lot of directors, like even now, some directors are there just for their own gain. We need a director who has a vision of the team. Like right now, the board that we have right now, we have people like
looks like George may have gone. He has gone Mteja, so we'll have to.
He got too heated.
Oh, he went into a channel. He got too heated. Okay, so we'll wait for him to get back and then come back in. So let me do that. So you want to carry on, Alex, while we wait for George to come back in?
Yeah, certainly. So there's a lot of fingers being pointed to individuals, but to me, and I'll wait for George to come back and continue where he left off. But to me, fundamentally, is he spoke of the former chairman Mwangi Muthee introducing Rugby Mashinani, which was a good thing, but that continued and that has grown. So what has changed? Those kind of incentives have grown. Right now, rugby is all over the country. I mean, they're playing it in almost every corner of every county. So we do have that player base that's coming in. So just to go back, when we talk about leadership, I think, and this is why I wanted George to listen, all these leaders are passionate about the sport, and yet they still fail. The former chairman, Oduor Gangla, was very passionate about the sport, as well as the previous one, Richard Omwala. But somehow they can't just seem to get it right consistently. And to me, I'm also a big fan of Alexander Sasha Mutai. I see him, he has the great credentials. He's been part of the system as a player, as a leader. Actually, when we had our best times during the former coach Mike Friday, he's one of the people who appointed him, as well as the late Benjamin Ayimba when he came back. Sasha was in the ranks at that point. So he's been part of it. Where I feel that we'll still have a struggle is I think there's a lot that is beyond him. This will take a long time to rebuild. And we need the money, and which is why relegation is huge. It is just so huge. Because you can have all the ambition, and I listened to him as well on K24, where he pleaded, he said, we need some sponsorship, we need an airline sponsor and all that. But where's this money going to come from? I mean, as an economy, we're still struggling. corporates are not, the money is not there as it used to. And let's be honest, when you're a corporate company, you want to support a team that's winning. You're not here to build a sport, you're here to ride on the sport's success. So here's a tough task, and that's the future. But how we got here also is just, I look at Fiji. Fiji the union probably has more controversy than ours. They just got banned from voting by World Rugby. But as a sport in of itself, they've always been consistently good. So I think from leadership down, we failed from being able, number one, to play our sport, and also to learn how the sport has evolved over every season, every tournament. That's what I feel is the biggest issue.
Yeah, those are some good points, and I want to unpack them backwards moving forward. So one of the things concerning, and you've just mentioned about our style of play evolving as time has gone by. So personally, I remember in the early days of IRB, whereby our team was kind of structured for speed, spread out across the field and move as fast as you can. But when we came to the international circuit, we found out that there was a combination. You needed a combination of physicality as well. And then we sort of transitioned to that phase of having physicality in our game. But then the game had transitioned now to speed and spread out again. So Kenya seems to transition one cycle too late. So and one of the things that came in was, what is Kenya's style of play in the Seventh Circuit not suited enough at the international level? What do you think?
No, I think our style of play it's suited for us, and we've had success with it. I think what happens with this now falls on the coach, is being able to adapt when your competition adapts. So when we used to have initially the speedsters, when Colin Sinjera came up and he was very fast, and you quickly noticed, based on the other teams analyzing our play, that they had to go and sort of like limit him. Colin Sinjera then went physicality with the Andrew Mondes and the really big guys playing. And what they did, even right now, when you look at Buffer,
Buffer, Alvin Otieno, yeah.
So at the beginning of the season, when he first came, like, no one could stop him because no one knew him. He didn't have a track record. But now they know to double team him and make sure like they go and hunt. Mike Fred used to refer to it as hunting threes. So you go tackle in threes, and then you split out. So I think what's also been lacking is us being able to be nimble, to change. If the speed works, it works. Because, and again, I'll always use Fiji as an example, and even the other teams, but Fiji is the most obvious. The style of play hasn't changed, but yet there's some dynamics that change in how they play. We used to be very heavily reliant on our wingers. They just give them, it's almost like on Omanyala on the field. Collins Injera could not be touched. Then you could eventually see Collins Injera actually, he even got moved within the set piece. So then he used to recycle the ball. The phases became more smarter. So I don't think I think we can still win, because obviously you always have to play to your strengths. But I think it's going to be, it's a tricky time. This game is very, when you see these guys running with those little, what are they called? The things that wear at the back that monitor their heart rates and everything.
Right.
And it almost becomes like American football, where you have analysts sitting up there and watching everyone's single move, and they can tell what works and what doesn't. And if you followed Kenya Rugby closely, the Kenya Sevens team at least, you'll notice like a lot of teams adjust to our play at halftime. So we may have a game plan, and we could be up 24-0, and then the other team makes an adjustment, and then all of a sudden we're fighting to win the game, or we even lose the game. So in my opinion, we can still win. We just need to be smarter. We need to invest more in our coaches, and just I'm a big believer in local talent from a leadership all the way down. So, and that's what the late Benjamin Amiembe was able to do, because allowances were still an issue. The players were still unhappy, but we found a way to win it based on how we play our game. He found a way to connect with the players, which was the greatness of all of it.
Cool. So once again, if you're joining us right now, this is Conversations with Top Down. We're discussing the Kenya Sevens relegation from the World Sevens Circuit. I think George is back in. I am going to add him back to the stream. Georgie, you're back?
Thank you. I'm sorry I lost you guys.
Okay, no worries. So
being a parent.
Baba Watoto.
You were relegated from the show.
I was relegated from the show, just like that. And I've worked my way back in.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to put up a couple of stats here that just talk on the second point Alex had talked about in terms of it's the performance tracker for Kenya, as well as the different coaches that we've had. So on the screen right now is a performance tracker. You can see this is 20 years of being a core team, right? So 2003, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Positions 11, 10, 9, 11, 7, 6, 8, 9, 12. And then you have 2012 where we actually got fifth place. And then 2013 through 2008 through 2017, it's 7th, 13th, 7th, and 12th, and 8th. The problem comes here when we start looking at 2018 going through this particular season. So we got 13th place, 12th place, 12th place, 12th place. We missed the COVID season where we were in third place at that point before everything got shut down. And then we got 13th place this season and ended up being relegated. So for the last 5 years, you know, the numbers don't lie. That's one of the things. We have been teetering on relegation for the last 5 years per se, or at least because we were 16 core teams who were not going to get relegated, but we were not really doing well. So I think we touched on it earlier in the show that it really wasn't a surprise in terms of this coming. And also, I'll put something also up as well in terms of coaching that we talked about. So all of those performances that we've been talking about here, we've had all coaches. Alex, you mentioned about you're very believer in local talent. We've had coaches from both sides, international coaches as well as local ones. We've had the late, great Benjamin Ayimba. We've had Mike Friday.
Yes.
We had Paul True. Then locally, we had Felix Totio Chieng. We had Innocent Simiyu. We have Paul Murunga as well. It's to me, when I did the analysis this past week, it doesn't matter kind of which coach we had. We have consistently been in that, you know, number 9 to number 13 kind of position. So it begs a question again: is our game just not suited to play at that very high level? George, I'll let you take this one.
All right. Our style of play is unique in many ways. And if you look at the coaches, I'll go back to different coaches that have come in. When we had Paul True came in and we changed our game of play to physicality, playing physical. We stopped being, you know, people who are using our speed and using our skills to play. And then, you know, we came in, we got our great coach, Mike Friday, who really brought us that, you know, yakayad, die hard, you know, going hard and everything, and playing with our brains, our skills, and strength, you know. And then after that, we got our best and our only coach that made us win one of our maiden cup. That is my best friend, Mr. Sir Benjamin Ayimba, the late Benjamin Ayimba. And, you know, with him, he knew the players. He knew how to get in their heads. Let me tell you, if you ever knew Benja was the kind of person who would make you think you're a superstar. And literally you're not. I will tell you straight up today that Benja built our friend, our great player, Mr. Andrew Amonde. Andrew Amonde, when he came in, you know, ball handling, he had issues with ball handling and all those kind of stuff. But Benja believed in him. Ores Otieno. We have great guys who came in, they had the strength, but the skill of play, they didn't have it. And mentally. So we needed a coach who could go make you believe in yourself, change your mindset, build you from where your talent is, and build you mentally, physically, and psychologically and physically. And then, you know, when we started rugby, we didn't have physios. We didn't have a lot of SNC. You know, you look at it. SNC has played a big role in transforming rugby. So with our skills, we had the skills, we had the play, we had the talent. But again, when a coach comes, he tells you, okay, this is how I want you to play. We move from where we knew what to do to where the coach wants us to play. Look at the way we are playing right now for us to be relegated. Ball handling, we don't know. We don't have ball handling. The way we were playing, instead of us eating the space, we are going away from the space. So our coaching also has a lot to do with that. And then the players, it starts from the players. If the players don't have that lion mind, we call ourselves the Shujas, we are the lions, and a lot of times if the players don't have that, the culture starts with the players. The players before, we had a culture, they had a culture whereby, a senior is a senior regardless of what, and a senior will, if you come in, you have to work your way up to where you're a senior, or where you can say something. But these players now, a rookie comes and he wants to dictate. You tell him, I want you to play like this, but because he has been told that he's a superstar, he won't even take any advices from the seniors. So that's where our problem was. Our culture changed, and I think it started from when our Simiu, when we had a few other coaches that came in, and everything changed. But if we can bring back the culture whereby, yes, we are these, we have done A, B, C, and D. Let us now bring a coach that will get talent, work on the talent, and change the mindset of the players. We have the talent, but the mindset itself is messed up. When Kenya came in, you could see the ball move from one end to the next. Now it's not happening. Why, Alex? Why is it not happening?
Well, so let me challenge you, if you may allow me to hear. You talked about the very great coaches we've had, the late Benjamin Ayimba, we did well, and Mike Friday, Innocent Simiyu. And you talked about, and let me use Innocent Simiyu, or even Mike Friday, let's use Mike Friday. Mike Friday came in and he had a winning formula, how he brought in the players like William Buck and all those individuals. Yet they did well,
Yes.
And then they did not. And that's the reason they were being, the union felt they needed to go a different direction. So what is it that's changing? Because you have these coaches that, in your opinion, are good coaches who are coming in, understand they're the players, but at the same time, they perform well, and then they don't. And it's like a whole season of not performing well until the union is forced to now replace them. How do you explain that?
I'll give one example, Georgie, before you go, because I really like that point, Alex.
Yes.
Because I don't mean to single out players, but like one of the guys that I looked at, and I was just kind of shocked in terms of what he did when he first came into the Kenya Rugby seventh fold, was Billy Odhiambo. So I looked at the stats in his first season, and he was absolutely amazing. So that's looking in the 2015-2016 timeframe. But as the years have gone by, it kind of seems that development of the player is either not taking place or there's just something amiss. So it goes to that, and there's stats to back that up. And he's not the only one, by the way. So why is that not happening regardless of who the coach is?
All right, and that's why I say players' mentality. Players' mentality is one of the things. I will give you, yes, you brought Billy Odhiambo. Billy Odhiambo was a great player. Remember when he came in, he was everything. But again, with age and injuries, and then now the offset off the field and off the field messes, which Kenya Rugby is good at. You get a good player come in, or we get some a good season in, and then now we become, there's no money, there's no this. So the off the field problems are the reason why most of our players, some of them decide, maybe because with rugby, when you're at your peak, that's when you should be going in hard and all that. And remember, when Billy came in, Billy was young. Yeah, he came in as he was young. He didn't have any injuries, and then remember he got some injuries. And when the injuries started creeping in, in Kenya we don't have enough medics who can bring us back to the way we are. I really thank our physio Bogonko and our SNC Kim. They've done so much to these players, whereby a player can be injured to some of them are almost like career ending injuries, but they come back. So the problem is mental. With our players, the problem is mental. And then also not having that stability outside the field. and most of that is brought by, most of that was brought by the indiscipline and also the union. When your pocket is, when you're afraid now, today I might not pay my rent, I'm not able to feed my family, I'm not able to take care of A, B, C, and D. Am I going to be very stable to play on the field? I'm not. Because I'll be worried, what am I, when I get back from this, or I might not be able to pay A, B, C, and D. So, that mental stability also has a big thing, big part to blame on that.
So, George, if I may ask, who's responsible for the players' mental stability? Isn't it the coach?
No, yourself. We have, okay, the coach can help. Like if I come, we need a psychologist. We need somebody who, when a player, like there was a time, I'm not gonna be afraid. We saw Ombachi coming out and talking about, his bipolar issues and all that, his mental issues after that injury and all that. In Kenya Rugby, we never used to have anybody who the players could go and talk to. We didn't. Here, look at all these professional rugby teams. So with us, yes, the player has a big part to play, and also as a union, we need to take care of, invest on the players' physical and mental health.
George, are you saying are there not enough players? Isn't it the coach's decision whether to start who plays? Why would they start someone who they feel is not mentally ready?
All right, we have players, but the problem is now the pool of players. We didn't have the only person right now working so hard to go out to Mashinani and identify coaches or identify players. I think is Paul Murunga. Paul Murunga right now is the one who goes out there, get the talent and all that. Like I just came back from the under 20. When I was in Kenya, they were playing under 20 Bathurst Cup. We had talent, and if you look at the team that beat us, which is Zimbabwe, and very soon Zimbabwe will even overtake us on not Zimbabwe. Yeah, Zimbabwe on 15th on that Bathurst Cup. You remember they have a league, high school league, whereby they are playing throughout the year. The team that played there, that this past tournament, they're the same team that played last year on the same cup. So they've had time to work out together, they've had time to train together, and if you could watch them play, you could see the fruits of them working together and the stability that I'm talking about. Okay, with the players, we have talent in Kenya, but we don't have scouts who can go and scout a player. And then also I believe, and this is my thinking, not that I know, a lot of times somebody will come in, we get a talent and all this, they come in, mess up one time, we kick them out, or they're not called in again. Look at Abukuse. Abukuse is one talented player, yeah, but if only he gets somebody who can fine tune him to be the lethal player that he is. Look at Wekesa. Wekesa, he came in. Look at how they brought him to what he is right now, and he's only 22. Imagine 6-7 years from now, where will he be?
In your example, those two players are playing on the same coach right now, and you've given one where Kessa doing very well.
No. The coach is not. The coach is not. By the way, the coach is not the one who does all those kind of work.
Yeah.
I believe the SNC. The SNC is the one who does everything.
Right, but it's the coach's decision to select a player, ultimately.
Yes, the coaches. But there's always influence from the union, who you want to put in and which player to go in. Those are the inside siyasa that there is.
So I know you're passionate. So how about you tell us, why are we relegated? Is it you talked about career management, right? Are you also saying it's the players?
The players also have a big part to play on that for us being relegated, and that is the truth. Because the coach is not the one who's been playing out there, making some stupid mistakes, like ball handling, knock-ons and all that. The players are the ones who are on the field. They're the ones who, you remember when, I'll give you an example when we used to have Kina Injera, we used to have Kina Omonde. There are days that our team was down And you know that if I inject so and so, he'll go in and play, get these players ready to play. But right now, there is nobody, really nobody who has that mentality whereby, you know, we are down, but we can still win it. We are down, but we can still, you know, we are down, but let's hold our heads up and go out and play hard. We play our hearts out. They played, they showed us their gist. They showed, but too late. It was too much too late. You know, if we would have been doing this long before that, we would have been somewhere else.
I think Alex has got some inside information, but he's holding his tongue because
He's holding it. He's holding
his tongue. I'll in Tamwanika, I'll just put him out there. So when it comes to the Kenya coaches as well, I had shown one of the slides here. I'll just go back to it here. So one of the coaches that we had here from the 2015 to 2016 season was Felix Ochieng, also known as Toti, happens to be Mr. Alex's brother. Yes. He ended up resigning at some point. And maybe you want to, I don't know if you're able to, or just maybe touch on interference from the union, things of that nature, because I know that you're talking from a position of somebody who actually knows what happens. And that might reiterate George's point as well in terms of maybe from the union there's been interference of not selecting the best players, because I have also heard it from a couple of people in the know as well. You know, people, especially people who watch the Kenyan circuit back home, when they come stateside, they're like, well, so-and-so player is not here, and back on the circuit, he's the best one back home. So what is going on? So maybe you want to expound on that.
Yeah, you know, Kenya 7 is a very big brand, and at our peak, we're really very visible to the world. And when that happens, obviously, there's a lot of interest at hand, starting from the top to all, you know. So, yes, George is absolutely right. So, ultimately, the coach decides, but it's not just his decision. And I know as a fact, there are times when a player is chosen and maybe someone at the union feels that they're not suitable, or they want to go with more experience, or they want to go with someone new, and that lineup changes. And it does affect how we perform, right? And yeah, to me, I just think we just don't have the structures. I don't know if any one coach, because now we're talking about all the interference from leadership and surrounding. But we also have a new leader right now who is, you know, ambitious and comes in with the right messaging. What is it? Is he going to be able to bring all that together very quickly, like at least in the next year, George? Does he have a good team?
Right now, let me tell you, Sasha has taken over the reign at the worst possible moment. But I believe that with his leadership, we can change. The team is there. Like right now, you see, we've added more women directors for diverse to be. You know, I see Wanjiko, she used to be our nutritionist. She's back in the fold. We have a lot of people there who have experience, the ladies who have experience and all that. And Alex, let us not hide it. You know, the union has messed us up. The union, the directors in the union has messed us up. They're the ones, they have put us in the position we are today. Because if we knew, like, okay, let's call a spade a spade. Like right now, we have Sasha, we have Toll, we have Andale. There's the guy that I fought not to put in the field, and I will say it without
Usichome.
But he made it, you know, because of Tumbocrats in some of the teams that voted. They didn't vote because they wanted him. They voted because of their pockets. But okay, that is just bygone. That is your siasa nyingine. But ukweli, if for sure we care about our rugby, and for sure we care about Kenya rugby and us getting back to be the core team, let us go mashinani. Let us get talent. Let us have a deep. Yes.
Did we lose George again, or is just?
No, I think it froze.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, you were saying?
Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, I was saying the problem that we have is that, you know, we need to take rugby mashinani. Let us have those leagues. Right now that we don't even have money, I don't know how we can do that, because we need to start with the high school leagues. High school, there's a lot of talent, but they don't have enough resources to keep up with the talent. Look at our boys who are playing at the Bathurst Cup. Those kids, if you looked at them, Bana, Jamani Mukondo, and then you look at Zimbabwe, they brought some guys who are really, really, we need to start investing in our local games. High schools, from high schools, we go to the local teams. From the local teams, now that we have big pool of players. And that way, in the next 2-3 years, we will be on top of the league, on top of the circuit.
So
right
George,
now,
I want to bring something up here, right? And I'll just show it on. So you talk about investing in the local league. So if you look at the corporate sponsors that we have, I mean, like, look at the guys who've been sponsoring the team all this time around. You had the old ones, EABL. You had now KBL, which is now EABL. You had Kenya Airways, which sponsored us for a long time and ended up pulling out because of issues that we have just touched on about mismanagement of funds. You currently have SportPesa as well that has put money into the team. If you look at the local leagues, like let's say like Mwamba is sponsored by Stanbic Bank. You have Nakuru Top Fry. So the corporates in place actually invest in the game. The problem comes at the top leadership level, where, for example, when Kenya Airways were investing and they did an audit of the funds, they didn't know where the money went. So what is going to change, or what has changed in the leadership right now that with me as a corporate will come in and say, I want to support them? And as we touched on earlier, remember now, as we are not a core team, when we need to travel, when we need to do anything, we need money to actually get to the places that we're going to. So that, I think, is actually the biggest issue right now that needs to be addressed. And I know Sasha addressed it yesterday. So, I mean, what's going to change?
No, as I say, the leadership that we have right now, I believe in the leadership that we have. Other than a few crops that we have to tame and work on getting them out, that is me personally. And if we can get Sasha's vision to work, we will go places. We will go places, because I believe he's a no-nonsense guy. By the way, Sasha is a no-nonsense guy. You might see him smiling and all this, but that guy is not a pushover like the leaders we had before, who the directors will decide what they want and all that. But they forget that the buck stops at who? It stops at the chairman. In all these messes that is going on, nobody cares who did it and who did this. They'll tell you it happened under the reign of who. Let's say, for example, all this happened under the reign of Gangi. Whatever else happened under the reigns of my good friend Omuela. And all these guys, we look at, we had, I'll give an example of a leader that we had who was very good, but the board is the one that screwed them up. That was Mwangi Mude. And he had a board of directors who really were fighting him, tooth and nail, just to make sure that he's failed, and all that. It came and it translated into the league. It translated into the circuit and all that. But now, if we go back and look at now, what are we going to do to change all that? Those directors, some of their powers need to be crimped off. If I am this, and we need to have check and balances on everything that comes in and goes out of the union. For one, let us invest. And people were laughing at me the other day when I was fighting. Some of them came and attacked me and all that. The best investment that we have at the union or at that ground, you fight me if you want, is that club, Club Orchard. But if we go to the gym, there is not even one equipment at the gym. But we are very happy that we have a big thing there that, So what are we showing people? Are we showing people that we can invest in clubs, but we can invest in the gym where the players need that, all those resources to do that? Those are my fights. That's what I've been fighting. I've been fighting for the players. I fight that we get a better. Right now, you can blame the players all you want, but again, were they given enough resources for them to be competing in the level that they have been competing on? If they're given, yes.
Okay, I wanna switch gears just a bit. I think we've hammered the point about the just importance of player management, coaches, competency in the board itself, in the directors. But there were quite a few questions that had come in terms of what it's going to take to get back to get back here. So this is one of them. Say since now we're relegated, what is a path back to the IRB or World Rugby? That was one. We had a slide here, kind of just talked about that. So I will put that up. Here is what it would probably take to get back in. There is a World Rugby Sevens Challenger Series. So right now Kenya has been in the IRB, which is a top one, which is the actual core series. The very first thing we have to do is we have to qualify for the African Men's Sevens. That's at the very top. You can see Uganda and Zimbabwe were the ones that qualified this past year. So, Alex, this next Africa Men's Sevens is going to be taking place in Zimbabwe. We have to get either position 1 or position 2. Last year, when we were in the core qualifiers, which was played in Kampala, we got third position after losing to Uganda in the final. So that's not going to be possible here, and that's just step one. So, what, in your view, what would we need to change between now and when the Africa qualifiers begin in August? What would we need to do?
Yeah, and the other thing to it this year is South Africa is in that Africa 7, so it's even worse for us.
It's worse. Worse.
It's much worse. So we need exposure. We need to make sure this playing unit, whether we're changing it, we need to make those decisions very fast. A lot of times, most seasons, or at least the coaching staff always says that they never had a preseason. We have all to play for now. We got to get our players in place. We got to get our structures in place. If it's coaching changes or maintaining the same coaching, that's fine. But we have to do it quickly and start building off it. And you mentioned sponsorship. Now, we're on our own right now. So Wild Rugby is going to cut down a lot of our paychecks. So I don't know, Mokuasi is going to have to come up with cook and, I don't know, sell food for us to build a team. But something's going to have to be done to keep this. And the other thing, these players are older. Some of them have families. They have expenses. So how would we know if they're going to stay? Some of these guys, just because even their contracts are going to be up in smoke. So at a basic level, we just have to perform at a high level. But to get there, I just don't know. I know they intend to come to New York in July, the New York Sevens.
Yep. Yes.
If they do so, that may give them good exposure. But yeah, it's an uphill task.
It really is.
Can I just tune in? Can I just tune in on that?
Yes, go ahead.
Alex. Yeah, Alex. Yeah, man. This is a uphill battle, and if anything, if we've all been watching Uganda has always been training to beat Kenya Rugby, Kenya Sevens. That's all they've been training to do. So we have our next door neighbors who are fighting to get us out of where we are, or to make sure that they've crippled us. And then now, on top of that, as Alex has said, South Africa. I was hoping that South Africa could have finished at the 4th position, so that at least we look at Uganda and Zimbabwe. Right now, we have Zimbabwe, we have Uganda, we have South Africa. My friend, we need to invest. I don't know if right now we can get anybody who can give us any more funds, but the players need to put it in their head, and we need to get our directors. We need to get everybody in the team to do that.
There was actually a comment by DJ Expect when this happened on Sunday about what we here in the diaspora could do. Because a lot, you see, it's interesting. A lot of people that actually live in Kenya, the fact that Kenya got relegated doesn't affect them as much as it does to the international circuit. So you look here, obviously we're here in the US. You've got people that are they just had the sevens in Twickenham. You have Dubai, you have Australia, you have South Africa. So the question is, because of the innate nature of how much sevens is tied to the entertainment scene here and things of that nature, is there anything that we in the diaspora can do to support the team? Are there structures that we can put in place that we can say we need to either people that know corporate companies that can partner with the Kenya team? How would we get something like that, or put those structures in place to assist the team? Who wants to take that?
All right. structures to assist the team right now. Like we've always looked at it, and we all know when we look at when we talk of sponsorship and all those kind of stuff, people look at, what's the return, how am I gonna return and exposure, and when it comes to exposure, right now what exposure do we have for any title sponsors or anybody who's willing to come and sponsor Kenya Sevens? We go back to, there was a year that when we were coming for 2018 World Cup, and we didn't have any money. Kenya did not have any money. I put up a GoFundMe out here to try and help the Kenya Rugby and the players, because we were fighting for the players. The only money I got there was about $420 from well-wishers from the USA. And that was because, everybody thinks that there's sponsorship, there's money from the sponsors that are coming in, but truly speaking, there is no money. These players have no money. And then now the good question that our good friend asked, how can we help them? We Kenyans here, when we talk about it to Atole Pesa, everybody goes hiding. Everybody goes hiding.
But you know why they go hiding? Because they don't
trust why the union. Go hiding? Because they think, because union is a messed up place. But right now we have people we can set up a place where we have somebody here who is in charge of the money, but again, the union, because the money has to go back to the union, and also because people had this they assumed that there was money coming out from the sponsors, of which there was no money. Literally, there was no money. How can you tell me that, there's money coming, and we have 4 months or 6 months arrears on salaries on those players, and they're only maybe maybe 20 or 15 players who are in that bracket of being paid. So guys, I think we need to come up with a structure, but right now, top down, to be honest, it's going to be very hard to bring anybody on board who was not already on board.
So I agree in terms of sponsorship from corporates. But I think, in my opinion, what Kenya Rugby Union needs to acknowledge is Kenya Sevens is a brand. And to DJ Expect's question, there's a lot of money that can be raised if they put an avenue that's transparent and acknowledged and official. They need to be involving the Ministry of Rugby on an official basis, Kenya Exiles, whoever else, Kenya Rugby 247, whoever else can bring and mobilize the team. It is, on my site, I just track the fan base. The number one question I always get? Where can I get a jersey? Like, it is just ridiculous that we have such a huge fan base and you cannot get a jersey right now at the click of a button. That's just, all the major unions use that. That is a big revenue stream. And I know Georgia tried to push that for years.
Even going home, you cannot get their jersey.
Yeah.
I was at home. You could not find it. And why? Why can't you find it?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. And the fact that they're trying to do everything, you have diaspora and so already involved. So just incorporate them, make it official, and just work towards that. And I think their reliance on corporate sponsorship will not be as dire as it is right now.
Yes. So, top down, to answer you, we need just to get the union to fix, clean their laundry, and everything will go in place.
All right. There was also a question here of when people were looking at, on Sunday when this was trending and they were looking at Kenya's been relegated. And one of the things I got in my DM was like, what does that mean for me? Mina ngoja kwenda Vegas ama ele, what does that mean? So that literally means with Kenya is not going to be part of the USA leg of sevens anymore. So they won't be coming either here or in Canada as well. And I think that touches on the next one in terms of whether there was Yes, exactly. So that goes here as to whether there was actually adequate notice given to teams in terms of relegation coming up. So you just mentioned that Canada is not going to be on the next seven ones. Let me just put this up as well. there is some changes that are taking place. So there we go. So if you look at the next round of the HSBC 7 series, one of the reasons why Kenya got relegated is because they have reduced the core teams from 16 to 12. And there are two divisions, as we've been talking about, promotion and relegation. And then the number of host cities have also been reduced as well. So, George, you're talking about Canada is no longer on that list of 7. Do we know which cities are going to be in the series next year?
We don't yet, but Canada is out. We know France is out. Hopefully, is out. Even London will be out, I believe, because they're bringing Madrid in place of London. So we're going to be having only seven cities. Yeah, 7 cities.
Yeah, just 7, yes.
And yes, and the reason why, and I think sometimes I am sorry, I'm not being biased. I love my women, but all these problems started because we want also to promote women team. So that is why they brought down the teams to 12, so that the women team can also be
can play at the same time. Yes, that is true. Yes. I was telling that to one of my friends, and they thought I was they thought I was joking. I was like, yeah, if you have the men's and women's tournament at the same time, there's not enough time to get those games in. So that's just the truth.
And the women wanted to be exposed.
Yes,
and it's also the Olympic format, right? The Olympic format has,
and that's a murder. That's a murder. We need to change. We need to put something. I don't know the. Petition so they can change, because that Olympic format doesn't work right. There are good teams that are playing, and just because you lose only one game, you're done.
Yep.
So you have to be on top. You have to be at your best to play in this kind of format.
I think it's going to be interesting to see if the US keeps its leg, whether they're actually going to draw enough people to actually make it financially viable, because without Kenya, I mean, we used to take off a fourth of the stadium in Las Vegas, LA. That's not a question. So without Kenya there as part of their core, I don't know how they're going to be a financially viable stop. So it's going to be interesting to see next season if they even keep it in LA, that is. So we'll have to wait and see, about that one.
Alex.
Yeah. But also, you have to recognize World Rugby has also been struggling. It's not just LA, right? There's some legs that just have, the turnout is becoming a tricky thing. So they're also trying to stay relevant and keep the sport relevant. So, but the Kenyan fan base, I don't know how they're going to do without that. That's going to hit them in a major way financially on just about every stop.
And just to add on that, that's why I was making the joke. If you saw my Facebook comment there saying that the HSBC is gonna feel the pinch, is gonna feel it. We're gonna feel it, but HSBC is gonna feel it. And I was hoping that we can get the invitations to those those tops like London, Dubai, and the USA. If they could give us that exception, and only if. But because it's not going to be possible, let us just get used to it that, next year, Kenya might not make it to the US. And let's pray that they can work hard and get back in 2025. Because 2024, it might be a forfeit, a very big dream that will never come true. But again, we as rugby diehards who love rugby, we might just go because it is rugby. But man, it's not going to be the same.
Oh yeah, right. I mean, without Kenya, it's not going to be the same at all. And we actually haven't even touched on the entertainment angle as far as how this affects us as well. That's like a whole other show, and we're trying to keep it to 1 hour. In fact, we're actually coming up to the top of the hour. Right. So yeah, I think we'll get in. We may probably do another show just to touch on the entertainment angle as well. But I think we've touched a lot on things that need to change. I know George, yourself, and Alex will be taking back ideas and themes that we've kind of talked about here back to the union, and let them know we're all in this together. And we actually have to support them, especially with the new leadership, to make this a possibility, because this affects a lot of people here, especially in the diaspora. So I'll give you guys your closing statements before we wind down. We're at the top of the hour. Alex, you want to go first?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I mean, Kenya Sevens is resilient. We will come back. It's just a matter of when. and if the leadership has enough of a vision to make it happen. But I remain optimistic. I think the fans should always remain optimistic. Kenya Seven still remains probably the best performing team sport of Kenya outside of athletics and all that. But I remain optimistic. As George said, we'll still follow rugby, even at a local level. We'll go machinani if we have to. And for the love of the game, we'll get back. This is what we do. It's almost like athletics. We're built for this, so we'll be back.
All right.
All right, George, last words?
Yeah, my last words are that, for my boys, we're really hurting the same way you're hurting. But also for the fans, let us not give up. Let us not give up hope. Let us continue spreading the word. Let us support them. And for those who love rugby, I will show it out here. We have Kenya Exiles coming up in 4th of July at Wilmington, North Carolina. Please come out, support. You'll enjoy rugby. The same Kenya rugby teams, the same players. Most of the players who played for Kenya Sevens are going to be there. They've always been there. The Kenya Exiles is almost like where the guys from Kenya Sevens who come to the US, they form that rugby. So let us come out, support. We have so many tournaments that we can do it. Bring that Kenya homely rugby in the US away from Kenya, but we are like Kenyans. So Kenya rugby, Kenya Sevens, or Kenya Exiles is there. Let's support Kenya Exiles and also pray for our team. Pray that our boys can work, be mentally, because right now mentally they're really messed up. Guys, we might talk about this, but they're also mentally messed up. Let us pray for their mental stability and also pray that we can get back and we can get back stronger than we were before.
All right, awesome. Just a quick comment here from Sandra. Agreed. Great job to all the panelists, and a special shout out to Alex on your birthday. Who knew?
Oh, it's his birthday.
You're here.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, brother. Happy birthday, brother.
We should have had a cake for you, but
Yeah.
we'd have to get a per diem from the union for that. So I'm not sure we'd get the cake.
George can get it for us. Minister of Rugby will pay for it.
Yeah, I'll get it.
Minister of Rugby will pay for that one, right?
Yeah, man. I know now we're not gonna see Arigi anymore that much, but Arigi needs to come back in and do his thing, man. We'll miss rugby. Truly speaking, we'll miss rugby.
No, we definitely will, man. So we'll do this again, guys. We have a whole other show for this, just in terms of the entertainment angle as well. So we'll plan that out. We'll let you know. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching. And most importantly, I want to thank the panelists for showing up on such short notice. Alex and George Asanteni Sana for showing up and agreeing to do this. We will do this again. Folks, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
All right.